I have a special guest for you today.
Oh.
So, just I always like to bring on special. Sometimes they're just a surprise. And sometimes, they're, somebody in your life that.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Hello.
Okay, now that's a big surprise. Wow.
There. Are you there? Are you there?
Her sound is silenced in camera.
We've got to unmute the sound and unmute the camera. It'll happen. It'll work. We'll get there.
Wow. That's a huge surprise.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
Now it worked?
Well, I can't see you, but we can hear you.
Start my video. Wait a minute.
Okay.
Start my video. You hear me? There's a
Yay!
dot.
What a nice surprise.
Barbara Bain.
I'm really here to tell them about you.
Oh.
I didn't know you guys knew each other.
We don't.
Yeah, we haven't seen each other. Too long. Too long.
Wow.
So I'm really here for it's very interesting. You'll hear what I say about you.
Oh.
Well, I had to, I knew that you and Barbara were, you said she is someone who's very important in your life. Where did you meet? Where did you both meet?
Surprise at the Actors Studio.
Actors Studio.
Right. And you also did a film together?
Oh, we did a film together that she wrote and acted in.
Right.
And we did a pilot together many years ago that I helped co-wrote and produced.
What pilot?
Ghostwriter, remember?
Oh,
a million years ago.
Oh, too many things already. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that was a wonderful pilot. Wonderful.
Yeah, it was. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Challenging. Let's call it challenging.
I've learned a lot through the years.
Well, it's so fascinating how we come to quote Hollywood and into this business, and we meet people who become such good friends. We see them. I grew up watching and had a huge crush on you in Mission.
Oh, whoops.
It was Space 1999. It was,
cool.
But all it's just, and then I connected with Corey Allen, and he was my teacher and mentor. So when I saw the word mentor, and even though Corey said, "Oh, don't call me that word," but at the same time, I said I had to connect the two of you here, just to see how we all work together, especially in this land called Hollywood.
I don't think of myself as a mentor either. I think of myself as a friend of Eileen's, and
very much
really a deep friendship. And I'm not so quick to make such deep friendships in this crazy place called Hollywood that I've been in a very long time. And she's I really want to give her a little bit of a roast in front of those people, maybe a giggle, because I like to tell them the truth about how lazy she is, and that isn't a real smile, and all of it, and that she never does anything. She usually just lies around in bed eating bonbons, sugar, which of course she doesn't eat, and it's all a costume. She's just that the next thing, because she is the busiest person I know. All wonderful things that she keeps doing, doesn't stop. But I like to kind of start it with a bit of fun, if you don't mind.
I love it.
Okay.
I love that. It's like, how is it? I mean, for both of you, one of the questions that Corey asked to start off the class was, what do you want the most at this moment in your life?
How funny to try to answer that. Now about 30 more years. I would say now, which I'm not going to have, but never mind.
I'm going to say ditto.
Oh,
I'll
yeah,
say
well,
ditto.
it's going to happen. the stats are different. At a certain point, you have to accept the fact that, oh, wow, I've got so much more to do. But here we are. So anyway, what would you want the most in your life, Miss Grubba?
A ditto, another 30 years for me and you both. And
Can I throw mine in?
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And I want to, I just said this to an agent I talked with the other day. What do I most want to do? I want to be a showrunner, and I want my own series, and I want to be a showrunner. And one of my biggest dreams is that I want to be creating a show with an artistic level that's off the charts. And I want to be able to call the people from the Actors Studio who I've watched and worked with through the years, who I know have worked the hardest, who really have amazing skills. And I want to be able to just call them and say, I have a job, you want it?
Oh, yeah,
and that they don't and that they don't have to audition, and that and that they don't have to audition, and they can just show up and we can all play together with great directors and have a lot of fun.
Last time we did a film together, I thought I would die in the valley because it was 138 degrees.
Oh.
I'm not great in the heat. And I finally thought, this is it. I'm going to die in the San Fernando Valley.
Because David, our air conditioning was out too, and we were in the upstairs of a multi-story house in the valley.
Oh, was this the film that you both worked on?
Yep. Take my hand. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Wonderful. Wonderful. Sweet, dear, good film.
Yeah.
Mind you, what she's writing now is dynamite. I just happened to read it the other day.
Oh, I got something behind the door.
So I'm going to talk to her and not the kids.
Oh, you could now to both, because we have the students watching this right now.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And they're sometimes we have students come on, sometimes we have
I just didn't know.
A mix.
Okay.
But we have over 100 students at Performing Arts Studio West. And then we have the Meet the Biz program, which brings all actors together. And that's what I love doing. I love connecting people. I think I love people. I guess what it is.
Well, I understand that. I do. When they're worthy of each other, you're really inspired.
Yeah.
When each has something to give to the other one, then it's like, yeah, let's get them together. I do that to that extent.
Barbara, what would you tell students that are just starting out or have their foot in the door about persistence?
Well, look, I don't think these students lack persistence, period.
Yeah.
It is the thing you need as an actor, but there's no question with meeting the various challenges along the way. They've done that and keep doing that. And that's the very nature of being an actor. You're on a turf that requires you to be, have the soul of a poet and the skin of an armadillo. So if you got a tough skin, which I know you do by now, there's no question. It's inarguable because of the nature of your life up till now. You'll be fine. It's accessing that poet soul, which is part of the craft, which is what I would suggest is a couple of things. Always be in a class. I'm still going to class. I'm 108 and I'm still learning things. And the excitement of puzzling out. I just did a play out in Newport with high school kids, playing most of the parts and a couple of us other folk playing the other, to put the two together, the pros and the neophytes as such.
Right.
And there's always a puzzle. There's always something to solve in each role. There's always an excitement to not assume you got it so fast. Keep kind of living with it and thinking about it and loving finding those moments. Oh, I could do that. Very exciting, those, when you find them. So it's always a challenge. The other thing, if there's anything else you could do or want to do, if this is the only thing you want to do, do it, period. There's no reason not to. but you need to have that strong desire to do it because you'll be buffeted about quite a bit, which again, I'm saying to you, you've already done that. So you guys are good in that regard. So I don't know if that's very clear or not.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, okay.
Well,
then I said that part of it. Then it goes on, but I'm not going to weary you for the moment.
No,
This is
that's
my
fine.
stuff.
This is for both of you. What is your dream role at this moment? What would that role be for you?
Eileen?
Well, at this moment, my dream role would be to play a lead on a TV series that's sort of a fun drama, if that makes sense. Like a dramedy where there's a lot of humor and not just darkness.
Mhm.
That would be my dream right now. But next week,
Right.
In 5
my
minutes.
dream would be to play the second lead in the movie I'm writing right now, but it being produced by a massive, studio and directed by, someone like Spielberg or the equivalent.
Right.
Mhm.
I like that.
I
Just
can
small
see that.
dreams.
Huh?
Just a
Just small
dream.
Well,
dreams.
oddly enough, it's a question I've never been a planner. I had a kind of ability very young I didn't know any minute what's going to happen next, but whatever showed up, I could take and do something with it. Whatever it was a lettuce. I could make it sell. And I was grateful that the lettuce showed up, whatever it might have been.
Right.
And along the way, a lot of really nice things showed up. So my ability to do that took me from not so exciting childhood to extraordinary life. And a lot of that was simply good fortune. And yet, part of it was, I was in an acting class,
Mhm.
a hallowed, important part of your life, kid. An acting class, quite a long time ago, obviously. And the writer, there was a writer in that class. So the person who ran it wanted writers to see what actors did and to get up on stage. So I got up on stage with a couple of later Academy Award winning writers who could not move, talk, or breathe on stage. But the point was, the man who created Mission Impossible was in that class. And he wrote that part for me, seeing me in class. And when he wrote he cast me, though he didn't tell me I was going to get it because he was fighting with CBS or somebody. Who is she? They wanted somebody known or whatever. So he fought the whole battle to get me that part without telling me. And then he told me. And he also told the writers who came along, because he had written the first bunch of episodes himself, write anything, she can do it. And then I had an entire mob of wonderful people, the lighting cameraman, the makeup man, all the people making me look really good on screen. And the acting part was heaven. So, all of that was because of an acting class. So that's some reason that I think they're very valid. And I think you should. And I was equipped by then, between studying in New York with Lee Strasberg, part of the Actors Studio, a couple other extraordinary teachers, all of which helped me along the way.
Right.
Starting out with playing a lot of dumb blondes. That was a category, dumb blonde, and I played dumb blonde. And I'm not dumb, and I don't like the category.
I used to go out for the nerds.
Huh?
I used to go out for the nerds.
There you go. Yes. So we were very, categorized. But when Bruce wrote a smart girl, who was also blonde, it was revolutionary. It would literally, you either stirred the pot and said, yes, dear, to some other person, or you were on a Western saying, don't fight, and that was about it for women. So it was just extraordinarily coming together with the time and everything about that show. He was brilliant, Bruce. And his protecting me, which he did by hiring the best lighting director in the universe.
Wow.
All those things happen. And
yeah, but you don't need you don't need lights. You look good any lighting.
I can tell you different, honey. There is something about the lighting that's wonderful. You can make the makeup and lighting together are really a marriage, and they are important. And now they're not important to me so much anymore. Whatever is. And you know, it was an extraordinary opportunity. I wish anybody who has that opportunity, it's just glorious.
Wow.
So it happened early. I was very young, and I was well received and everything. I had no complaints about anything then or what has followed. I've had
and then those roles were like the first strong women on television.
Yes, it was revolutionary. I cannot tell you. To this day, I get letters from people who have now retired from NASA or someplace and said they were inspired by me being a strong-willed and my own place in the world woman, girl. I keep thinking, you know, and it inspired them to follow a career, because up until then they were told they could either be a secretary or a teacher. That was about the path you could take. You couldn't take it, you know, any other path.
Well, you got rid of the, I mean, you didn't completely, and they still used, quote, dumb blonde, but you changed the dumb blonde to the powerful woman, you know, this gorgeous, amazing, powerful person.
Yet in my time, which is not so far, I mean, it's far back in one way, and in terms of the changes, societal changes, I was told by my typing teacher, you don't have to learn to type, you'll sit on the boss's lap. Now, she couldn't say that today, and I couldn't throw the book at her then, but I would today. Right. Because that was an awful thing to say to
that is an awful
in high school. I was in high school at the time.
Yeah.
So those kind of sentences were told me. The high school math teacher said, you do not belong in this class. Girls can't do math.
Ah.
I mean, these were teachers. And of course, you didn't question a teacher then. They must have been right.
How did you get through that, though? Here's your people who are teaching.
Strong-willed.
Yeah.
That's the skin of the alligator. That's the tough part, as much as you needed it to get through. And that's what you guys that I'm speaking to, or anybody, and in fact, needs that kind of will. And they called me something like strong, that meant I was annoyingly smart and strong-willed, whereas the boys in the books, all the books we read at the time, the librarian told me I couldn't read those books over there because they were boys' books.
Yeah.
I mean, it was that kind of thing you were continually told you couldn't do. And I said, what? They were adventure books. So I was not to have any adventures, but I read them. So Dr. Dolittle, those kinds of things were called boys' books.
Yeah.
And I was offended and hurt, but I prevailed. I was good. Oh, boys' book. What's that like? I think I'll go get one, you know, kind of. But you just kind of, I don't know. I was puzzled by all that. I thought it was ludicrous.
Yeah.
Tell me I can't do. So the minute you tell me I can't do something, that's kind of what I would do.
Right.
So
that's something Barbara and I have in common.
Huh?
Oh,
yeah.
That's something Barbara and I have very much in
That's
common.
what I was going to mention about her.
Get rid of the apostrophe T.
Well, you got to have it. You got to just help yourself make your own path. And there were two things that helped me, by the way, two very strong things. One was reading, which I did and still do all day or all night. That's the thing that got me through this pandemic. I read and I enjoy it and I'm fine reading. And so the public library, City of Chicago, and the Art Institute was just extraordinary to go to this place and see these things that were so beautiful And I didn't know what I was doing there. I was a skinny kid. I could get on the train and go myself. And I went every weekend once I found it. And it was like a wondrous place. It had all these things that I didn't exactly make sense out of any of the experience at the time. But in retrospect, I realized, oh, I could see there was something more in the world than what was immediate apparent on the fairly dirty, noisy, crazy streets of Chicago, where I was growing up. And there was something absolutely extraordinary. So those two things, the library and reading, and so I again urge everybody, go to museums, go to concerts, listen to things, watch people, see how they behave. All of that is like, yeasts in you, and you've got all those things to bring to a role.
Yeah.
All those experiences, those worries, those excitements, those joys, those sky when, how did it look that day? Wow, never saw anything, a sunset like that. Take in what's around you and go to museums, please, when this thing is over, finally. And everything else you can. Get to know architecture, get to know dance, get to know the history of those things, and the people who blazed the way. And you go, wonder why? Why did anybody talk about her? She's so funny. Well, let me see. See what happens when you expose yourself to more and more parts of life. They're rich, and they make you, it's part of your own mosaic of who you are. It's in you, you know. I was thinking of all the people I've played by now. I'm made up of this crazy patchwork of all these people because I've actually had them all in me for so long. And I thought if I could paint, I would paint a figure with all these bits and pieces of roles I've played, which is a little whatever you want to call it.
I love how you described it as a patchwork of all these roles within
Yes,
you, flowing through you.
It becomes a sort of mosaic of who you are, you know, and it's fun. It's just fun.
I just have to say, both of you, I mean, Eileen, you, again, I was telling Eileen, I was watching more of her work today, and every piece that I saw, I was tearing up. I didn't even realize I was tearing up because she had me so in the palm of her hand. And then it went to a comedy piece and I was there, and it was so great. And for you, Barbara, I could see the connection that you two have because you're both such amazing artists. And again, watching your work, Barbara, throughout the years just gives me, the word I've been using lately is spelkus. It's that, Yiddish word for just, yes, you're about to say something.
I was going to say, Eileen, I want to hand her something that happened in my life. Yeah. It was a person I knew quite well, a lovely person, who made a huge effort to accomplish a thing. And she did. And I said, Sonny, you're amazing. And she said back to me, honey, I'm a wonder. So that's what you are, Miss Grubba, a wonder. With everything, you never stop, you just keep going. There's always that smile on your face, no matter how much pain you're in, all kinds of things. And just, you are a wonder. So I give you that.
Thank you.
So why wouldn't I be, if she asked me a question, try to give her an answer?
Well,
this woman has taught me so much, David. And it's interesting. I'm listening to her talk about her youth in Chicago. And, my mother was also born in Chicago and grew up there, and her name was also Barbara. And I lost her so many years ago. And I've said this to Barbara many times. I kind of, at a very young age, very, very young age, had no idea what's next because I didn't have that guide anymore. Mm-hmm. And so, I can't tell you how many things I've learned from Barbara Bain and how many times I've called her up when I was struggling with something, especially in this business where it's not as easy to jump up and stand up for yourself because you're always worried about losing a job or what the right way is to handle something in the business. and how many times I've called her and said, what do I do?
Do with what's
And
right for you. Do with what you can do. Everything from doing nude scenes, which they now do in films, which they weren't doing when I was doing these things. Well, if you're fine with it, you're fine with it. If it's going to give you trouble, don't do it.
Yeah.
And that kind of adds to almost anything. Just see where you are in relation to it. There's always could be a reason to do that work. Sometimes I get a script and I wonder, why so many people going to group up and make this project? I don't want anything to do with it. I wish it were good. And sometimes I found myself between a time call from an agent to when you get the script, the difference between what they describe and what you get is the most creative part, because you think, oh, she's an alcoholic. She killed her this, she did that. It's very, so I can do this. Then you get the script, none of it's in there. And you go, what was he talking or she talking about? This isn't that. There's nothing to act here. Why am I doing it? He said, so you find, well, I'm doing it because it's a job. I'm doing it because they are paying some money. That's always an issue. I do like the director. We're shooting it in so-and-so. I've never been there. That's not bad. It's travel. So you have these things to weigh. Or it's on location somewhere and I don't want to go away at this time. I don't know. Let's see. So there's a bunch of parts of it. And if you can say, okay, I'm not crazy about this, but I'm going to do the best I can with this. That's a good reason. Because then you can show up and feel good about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those kind
David, there was a time that I called Barbara once.
Right.
And I love telling this story. I've told it in a few of my interviews. Because there was a time that I called Barbara once and I said to her, you know, I'm working on this little project. It's another one of these little freebie projects, but I committed to it. I said I'd do it. And at the same time, these people I've been working with in England invited me to come to England and meet Stephen Hawking, because we were judges together in this competition and they wanted me to come sit beside him and present this award.
Yeah.
And I had said no because I had committed to this little project. And I'll remember the phone call for the rest of my life. I was even sitting on this couch when I made it. And Barbara was like, hold on, what? She's like, hold on, what? Wait a minute, what? And then I explained and she said, okay, how many of these little projects have you done for free? How many have changed your life? And I was like, none. She's like, okay, hang up this phone right now and book your ticket to England.
Yes, and we'll find a good actress, good enough to take that
So
role.
I found a good act. I called one of my friends and I said, can you take on this job for me? And she said, great. So then I contacted that team and I said, I'm so sorry, but I have to go. A big opportunity has presented itself. But I gave them two actresses they could choose from. They chose my dear friend Cynthia, who's covered for me on a few things. And I took off to England. And always when people ask me about the time that I got to sit and talk with Stephen Hawking about how I was trying to change our industry and what an incredible life experience that was and meeting that was. And I always think about the day Barbara Bain said, hang up this phone right now and book your trip to England.
Yeah.
And that was the kind of wisdom I needed. You know, I've had a lot of times in my life where my head's getting, you know, screwed up by too many things. And I've needed somebody wiser to step in and say, hey, go this way.
You know, there are certain things that they just for you, just before you go to sleep, you think, well, that moment in England. There are a lot of them in my life, not the least of which is every once in a while, just before I'm going off to sleep, I've seen the pyramids. I went to Egypt and saw the pyramids. Yeah. And I'm still kind of stunned that this girl from the middle of this country, the Midwest, who saw things on black and white pictures, not television, pictures in books, and that I got to travel the world and see all kinds of wonderful things. So, you know, the Parthenon, but those pyramids, nobody knows I've seen the pyramid, but I know I've seen the
You know.
pyramid. It doesn't matter if nobody has to know. It's just nice to know that I had
It's
that
the experiences in life. Experience
Yes,
as much as
yes.
you can.
So when she said Stephen Hawking, I said, that's that. Hang up the phone, make a ticket fast before they change their minds or something.
What a great story.
Yeah, so those are the fun things really, and I'm pleased about that it was a good experience for her. And I didn't chase it away.
She also taught me very, very early in my time at the Actors Studio,
Right.
how to add joy back into my work.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean you didn't have joy then?
Well, I think because my life had had so many dark events back to back to back to back, and when I was first coming into the Actors Studio, my life had just been getting hammered with loss and death and challenges, and so I would work on things, and it was really easy for me to go to all the dark places and just throw your guts on the stage. But Barbara, I think within maybe 1 or 2 times of me working in her class, wanted me to work on the time before all the hell hit my life. And I remember saying, how am I going to do that? I was less than 5 years old. How am I going to find that? And she said, you'll find it. Just work on it. And sure enough, she helped me find it and then explore it. And then I remember when she said, so now you get to add that in, now you've got these colors and these colors and you're adding it in, and now your work will be that much more exciting. And so I always have to remind myself when things get dark and things get hard, because they do, I always remember that lesson to add that in. And I can't tell you how many times I've thought back on that class and that refinding the spirit of the little girl I was before it all and adding that in. It has helped me tremendously. Wow. So I've learned a lot from Barbara Bain, a lot.
This is such a class. I'm taking you both in and learning so much and going through memories of stuff that I thought, oh, I made a mistake there or didn't do this, but it's interesting. I'm thinking of certain things that I went through that are like changing right now just from hearing the two of you.
Wow.
So thank you for that.
Wow.
Well, in spite of this really extraordinarily weird year we've lived, because it is bizarre, we need each other.
Yeah.
That gets revealed, doesn't it?
Yeah, and just the other day, I sent her a screenplay that I'm excited about and working on. And I think within 24 hours, I had a message on my phone saying, read it, call me, it's so nice to have people I really admire and look up to, who I know the work and they know me and what I'm trying to do, and that they can see it, read it, and tell me the truth. Yeah. It's so important to have those people who will always tell you the truth and tell you when there could be something better or stronger or different or more or all of those things. It's just such a great gift.
A couple of things are pertinent there. Number one, see, she's glad I've spent my entire childhood reading, because I'm very responsive to material. I understand it very well. But on top of that, my daughter is a writer. I have a daughter who's a writer. She's been writing since she was actually 4.5. She wrote a book that she wanted published because she wondered if it wasn't as good as the other books. I had to tell her it was, but we couldn't exactly publish it. Anyway, she's been writing, and she writes. She's a wonderful writer, and I read her stuff. But, she's my daughter-mother relationship, and I say to her, hang on, you asked me to read it, so you know that I'm very strong, I have strong opinion, It's not going to be necessarily all praise. And whatever I say, you don't have to do it. But don't defend it. If I tell you, I think that part there is trouble for me to make from there to there because it pulls me out of what you're doing, or it doesn't escalate fast enough, or whatever. I know structure, I know all these things just because I know them by now. So don't defend it. Listen, I know that's hard. You are my daughter. You want to tell me why that line is there. I don't care why it's there. This is what's bothering me as an audience, as a person seeing it, reading it. So listen, and then either take my suggestion, throw it out the window, or, kick off something better even. You'll kick off something better just from listening to that. Or throw it, just say, she's nuts, I don't want to listen to that. Whatever. But don't defend it because it clutters up you receiving what I'm talking about. Obviously, you had a reason for it, but your reason doesn't work there.
Right.
Be over here, or maybe out. I don't know yet. Or I do know, but anyway, so it's a little, I have some history with that about reading stuff, and I read fast.
That's great.
One of my first jobs out of college was teaching people to read fast. They'd invented some kind of
Speed reading?
yes. And this place taught it to corporate people and lawyers and things like that with a machine that went down the page a certain speed. And to read the whole sentence. We're taught to read in like this, word by word, because when we're little, and they were teaching, and I was teaching people to read by phrase. So you pick up more meaning and you could do it much faster. That was a theory. And, I did a bunch of those kind of fun jobs along the way so I could pay for my dance lessons because I was a dancer at the time. And learned something from each of them in a way, but also knew each time that I was going to dance. At that point, I wasn't an actor. And I liked all that. It was all, I didn't think I'd ever be stuck like that my whole life. So I was a waitress or this, that, or the next thing. But so I did a bit of that. And by the time I was trained about a year and a half later by Lee and a couple of other excellent teachers, the first 3 jobs I ever went out for, I got. And they were all at the same time, but I worked it out with the unions. I ran from one to the next, and one waited and one didn't. One was in Mexico. Anyway, I did those and I never did anything else except act since then. So I was very fortunate in many, many ways, which I deeply appreciate. Thank you, world. It's been good to me. So I have many people along the way like Eileen, who has that kind of dedication and love of the work and talent. It's wonderful with her struggles and all the rest.
Thank you.
There's a whole world out there waiting for you. There's nothing out there waiting for me.
Lainey, you have to see the sun again someday.
No, I don't. I don't ever have to see the sun again. I don't ever have to eat again. I don't ever have to do anything ever again. I'm okay, thank you.
Have you seen or heard from Lainey since the funeral?
You shouldn't have left her alone that day.
I'm trying to help
You
you.
can't help me!
She was everything in my world. Everything I ever believed in.
I know what it's like to be in a dark hole, and I am not going to let you stay in one. So get your tail out of that bed!
No.
Same bright blue eyes. Same feisty spirit.
I keep thinking she's gonna come running through that door, and when I realize that's never gonna happen again.
We just have to go on.
I don't know how.
I do.